Hormozi just launched $100 million money models, and in this video, I'm going to break down Hormozi's 4 money model offers and the only one money model you need, which I used to make your first million as an educational creator. So, first things first, why should you listen to me? And frankly, speaking on $100 million money models, you probably shouldn't listen to me because that is not something I've done. But in terms of what I have done 350K in 4 weeks using the money model. I'm going to break down to you here. You can see the screenshot here. It was 200K cash collected up front, rest on payment plans, which funny enough is part of the money model that Hormozi talks about. And I paid 6K for Hormozi's back-end upsell offer. So therefore, I am qualified to talk about making your first million as an educational creator. And that's what I'm going to focus on here today. Now, before we begin, we all need to understand what actually is a money model and why should I even care about it in the first place. And simply put, synthesized from Hormozi's book, a money model is just a sequence of offers designed to help you make as much money as possible. Because that's what happens when you do that, when you make the most money, when you collect the most upfront, that's when the business grows, that's when the business is healthy. And as synthesizers, that's how we help more people and we have a bigger impact. We get more freedom, we make more income. And it's simply put, it's the core of your business, the sequence of offers. What do you give to people and what do they give to you in return? An exchange between you and your audience. And there's 4 core offers that make up the business money models. And I'll just share my screen here and work through the course to show you it. And in summary, they are attraction offers, upsell offers, downsell offers, and continuity offers. And as you can see, there's a lot of pillars within all of these things. There's a lot of different types of attraction offers. There's a lot of different types of upsell offers. There's a lot of downsell offers, and there's a lot of continuity offers. In fact, if we total them up here, video 29, we could say maybe minus 10 from the intro. That's 19 different types of offers you guys could put in your money model. That means you have 19 options here. You have 19 things you could do to make a money model and grow your business and scale faster and make more money. But your goal probably isn't 100 million. If you're watching this video right now, your goal probably isn't to make $100 million in the next year, in the next 5 years even. I'm going to hazard a guess that you're probably like me when I was starting out, and your goal is maybe your first million, and that feels like the big thing you are aspiring to reach. Because we can call that 100K a month, and as an educational creator, as someone in the info space, that tends to be a core goal. And maybe it's smaller than that. Maybe it's just your first 100K. Maybe it's your first $10,000 a month. And because of that, you should do something differently than if your goal is $100 million. And the steps you take to reach 1 million is a lot different than what you do to make 100 million. And you and I, we are not Hormozi. We are not Hormozi. We don't need everything he did to do a $100 million launch with his money model. All we need to do is simplify down to the core, the 1 or 2, 3 things that we need to make our first million. And here, what I've noticed with all the excitement and the hype of the launch and everything that's been happening and all the energy that got into it, people have gotten really excited. They've gotten really pumped up and they see all this information, Hormozi value stacking, everything he did, absolutely crushed it. He is insane. He absolutely crushed it. But distraction ends up being the killer here. Because we see all this information. We see all those different types of money models, those 19 different offers we could say that make up different money models. And we get ideas. We start thinking about all the different things we could do. We start brainstorming. We get excited. We start thinking, oh, maybe I do this offer. Maybe I do that. Maybe I make my leads do a backflip before working with me. Maybe I do a backflip. Maybe I jump off this cliff. Maybe I jump off that one. Maybe I need all these fancy things. But in reality, that overabundance of information actually creates a distraction for most people. And that can kill more people. Because in reality, the thing that's holding you back from making your first $1 million is probably not a lack of information. It's more likely a lack of action. And when I look at my own journey, when I made my first $10,000 a month a couple years ago, the steps I took to reach that point weren't consuming more and more and more information. It was actually taking more and more and more action on the information that I already had. And I'd say here at this point, you got to be very careful not to get overly distracted by all the bells and whistles, the exciting things Hormozi does for $100 million launch, and start synthesizing down to the core, the simplest version of what you need to make that first $1 million and set you up. Because before you can even start thinking about $100 million, you first need to hit that milestone of, let's call it $1 million. And that's why distraction is actually a bigger killer for most people watching this than a lack of information. Now, even Hormozi actually says, don't build this all out at once. And here's a screenshot from his book, which I have early access to. And in the important notes here, he says, your goal is to perfect one offer at a time. And it's tempting to see the whole money model and try and implement it all at once. Don't. Stick to your stage. Pick one offer. Try it. Keep doing it until it works reliably. Then, after it's reliable, do it so many times it becomes automatic. And when it becomes automatic, that's when it becomes scalable, because it requires less time, effort, complexity for you to maintain it. And then you can divert that newfound attention and focus you have to another offer and another piece of your money model. That's when you go to the next stage. And patience is still the fastest way to get your goal. So you'll need to measure in quarters, not weeks. You either build it right or you build it again and again and again. Building, no matter how fast, still takes longer than building it right the first time. And your goal is to build it right the first time. And I've not built it right the first time, and it cost me tons of time. It cost me lots of money, and it cost me a lot of patience. And here I've noticed, after talking to literally thousands of educational creators, we often measure things in weeks. And this is honestly one of the biggest lessons for me here. We measure in weeks and days in terms of reaching our goals. And because of that, we feel like we're behind. We feel like we're not doing enough. We feel like we're not good enough. We feel like we need to do more, and we need to do it faster and better and easier. And it should be easy and quick, just like everybody else we see. But when you expand your timeline of your goals of what you are building, and you begin to measure in, let's say, quarters and years even, then you realize you're exactly where you need to be, and you can take that next one step to make progress and just put one step in front of the other. And the next thing you know, when you look back at the next quarter, at the quarter behind you, and then the year behind you, and then the 2 years, and then the 5 years behind you, you'll see this immense progress that you've made. And the goal here is actually simplicity, not complexity. And complexity doesn't create great businesses. And when we look at someone who is absolutely killing it, and maybe let's call it 10, 100 steps ahead of us, like Hormozi is, he's probably 100 steps ahead of, maybe 1,000 steps ahead of the average educational creator, the average entrepreneur. You see his complexity and you think you need it because that's what he's doing, right? So if he's doing it, I need it too. But in reality, he didn't start that way, and none of us actually start that way. And the goal for us is actually simplicity, because chances are you're like me and you don't have a big team. Chances are you're like me and you're trying to do it all yourself. Chances are you're like me and you're constrained by time. You have all these different things, all these different commitments to you. You probably have family commitments, friend commitments. Maybe you're in school. Maybe you have a job and you're trying to build on the side. Maybe you're all in on your business, but you still have to create content, do your offers, do your sales, do your delivery. You got to do everything needed to grow the business. And your biggest constraint is your time. And if you're not leveraging your time in the right way, you will not make progress. And chances are, if you are working every day and you're not where you want to be, it's probably because you're working on the wrong things and you're building too complex of a machine from day one. And you want to start with the simplest system possible, the most operationally simple system, because then it requires the least from you and it requires the highest leverage work for you to grow. And then as you grow and you attract more assets, you get more wealth, you build bigger things, you like Hormozi said, you begin to automate and make it repeatable, and you make it consistent and reliable, then you can expand, you can grow the team, you can reallocate resources to add in operational complexity that you don't have space for at the beginning. So I mentioned that Hormozi's 4 pillars are attraction offers, upsell offers, downsell offers, and continuity offers. So at this point, I'm going to break down all 4 of them. I'm going to synthesize them, summarize them down into one sentence, if I can, of what each of these things are based on my understanding of what I've applied. It's not going to be perfect for everybody. It's simply what I'm doing, what I've done to do 350K in 1 month, how I've applied these money models, and also looking at how Hormozi himself applied them in this very past launch, because he displayed the money models here. He didn't just talk about them and tell you about them. He actually installed them in his business and used them to do a $100 million launch himself. And the first one is the attraction offer. And we look here, attraction offers, there's win your money back, free giveaways, decoy offers, buy X, get Y free, pay less now or pay more later, free with consumption. There's all these different types of attraction offers. So the question becomes, what is the one attraction offer I need here to set me up to make that first $1 million? What is the one attraction offer I need here? And Hormozi's attraction offer, if we look at what he did, he makes free content, which is free with consumption. That is number 16 here, free with consumption. He makes free content. Then he did a content webinar, and he also did, let's call it a low ticket book. And then he also has little other things worked in. But at its core, I'd say Hormozi's, from what I've seen, Hormozi's core attraction offer thesis is, if I give away everything for free in my content and I help people get to their first couple $1 million, then they will want to ascend and get my help on the back end. They'll pay more later. So he gives away everything for free in his content. And that's how he attracts people. Because the goal of attraction offers, synthesizing it into one sentence, the goal of attraction offers is to turn strangers into customers. And in order to do that, you need to build trust. You need to display your skill. You need to display that you can help them get what they want. And you need to provide value so that they see it, they love it, and then they want more from you. So in terms of what we did and what we do to do the 350K in 4 weeks, and the model I'm using for the first $1 million and beyond is free content as well, funny enough. Same as Hormozi. And for us, we have this free community called Synthesizer. There's now 25,000 people in it, and we post free content in here. Last week, free content. If we look in the classroom, we have a free roadmap, a free course, breaking down a free course that we could have charged thousands of dollars for, but we gave away for free to build trust, to help people get to the next step of their journey. So then when they do get to the next step and they want more help and they want more hand holding and they now understand that we are good at what we do and we can help them, they're ready to take the next step. So we have a school community, free school community, which is a little different. Hormozi makes it, generally speaking, we'll call it content. His free courses on his website, acquisition.com, his YouTube and all that stuff, his podcast, the game, all that. Then Hormozi also then channeled that attraction into a webinar. And if you guys were around last weekend when Hormozi did his big book launch, you'll see how incredible that webinar was. 80,000 people watched it live, and then there were another 40,000 in the VIP. That's over 100,000 people watched the webinar live. And funny enough, a month and a half ago, when we did this launch, we actually did a webinar as well. We launched with a webinar as well. So we happened to follow something Hormozi did accidentally almost beforehand. And this was the webinar we made. And if you guys want to watch this webinar recording to see how we did it and see the free community, I'll put a link in the description. You can check it out, join. It's completely free. There's 25,000 other people in there. And this is the free with consumption offer. This is what we used, and this is what we think and we found is the best to make our first $1 million and turn strangers into customers. So that is the summary of, if we go back here to Schoolers, where the Hormozi $100 million models course is, that is attraction offer summarized. Your goal of attraction, get strangers to become paying customers. As educational creators, one of the best ways to do that is with free with consumption content. Now let's talk about upsell offers, because at the end of the day, when you give stuff for free, people still don't pay attention. And when people pay, they pay attention, they get better results. You have a better impact on people, you really help people, you collect more case studies, more proof, you get better at what you're doing, and you actually make money, which you need to have a successful, healthy business that stands the test of time. So what is Hormozi's upsell offer? And if you were here on the webinar, you would have seen it from Hormozi this weekend. He had a 6K book offer. It was 6K, donate 200 books, get all these different things, value stack, get an AI model, get this, get that, get this. It's something that I paid just to check it out so that I could synthesize it and share it with you guys. And he had this 6K book, which was his upsell offer to the free webinar. So people could come for free, they could get all the value from the webinar, but if they wanted more, and if we wanted to turn those strangers now into customers, there was the 6K book. And then what a lot of people don't realize and they didn't see, especially if they were watching it live, maybe they missed it, there was actually a 16K back-end offer, which was 3K monthly. And this involved a school community, and it involved working more with his team and working with himself for a few months, however long it was. So there was actually another 16K back-end upsell offer. And our upsell offer to the free content, what we give for people to take it to the next level, is called synthesizer scaling. And synthesizer scaling is our program, our offer, where we help educational creators scale to $10,000 to $100,000 a month, which is where we have our expertise. It's not helping people make 100 million. We don't know how to do that yet, but we can help people make 100K a month. And I guess we have the proof right here, because Yuval just did it with his first month. He did a 100K launch. So, summary. What is the upsell offer? The goal of the upsell offer is to make the most cash up front, to help people. And in order to do that, you need something that is more high ticket. You can't do this with low ticket, unfortunately. And a lot of people think, oh, maybe I'll do low ticket here. Maybe I'll add in these complicated funnels. Maybe I'll add in, I'll add in something like, if we look at the course, maybe I add in a menu upsell, an anchor upsell, a rollover upsell, classic upsell. But in reality, all you need is one core high ticket premium offer that actually works and gets people results that you can deliver on the promises of, that you have proof of doing, that you are good at, that you can help people with to take it to the next step of what you've attracted them for. So you've attracted them, they're interested, they trust you, then you have an upsell to take to the next level, get them results and help them. So that is our upsell offer. Summarized, make the most cash up front to keep the business healthy, keep it cash flowing, keep it growing, so you can now reallocate the funds you're making to grow even more, to help people even more, to get even better results. And when people pay, they pay attention. Next up, we have, after upsell offers, we have downsell offers. Downsell offers. And here we can see there's a few different types of downsell offers you can have that Hormozi talks about. And Hormozi's downsell offer was a payment plan. And he used a firm, and it was a $250 per month payment plan to get the 6K book offer. There was no payment plan for this one based on my understanding on what I've seen. So this was Hormozi's downsell offer. And the goal of the downsell offer is to turn no's into yeses. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get no's when you have an upsell offer. You're going to get people who can't afford it. Maybe they don't have the money. Maybe they need a safety net. Maybe they're not convinced. Maybe they just need something to push them over the edge and turn what would be a no to the upfront into a yes. Because there's two types of no's when you present an upsell offer. The first no is, no, I just don't want this and I don't need this. And that is okay. The second no is, oh, I just can't afford it up front, or the terms. It's a no to the terms of your offer. And when you get a no to the terms of your offer, you can change the terms of your offer to get a yes. And one easy way to do that is to extend the timeline that people are paying. And we can see Hormozi did this on full display. Now for us, what did we do for our downsell offer? And you'll see when I displayed the proof here, you'll see the payment plans. There's 31,500 MRR, monthly recurring revenue, 187K upfront. This was the downsell. This was the payment plan. And the churn is actually positive because it means people are completing the payment plan, which is funny because we actually want to incentivize churn at that point because it means people are completing their payments. So the downsell offer, the goal is to turn a no into a yes. The easiest way to do that is to renegotiate the terms of your offer to make it easier to say yes. How we did it, we split our 5,800 up into a 2K month. Sometimes we did 2 payments. Sometimes we did, if someone was a really good fit, 1K monthly payment downsell. And this turned no's into yeses, where people who couldn't afford the upfront could afford this because they still wanted the thing, they just couldn't agree to the terms, and that is how the downsell offer works. Now, next up, let's look at the continuity offers. Move on, continuity offers. Now, continuity offers, there's a few different things Hormozi has talked about here as well, but at its core, what a continuity offer is, the goal of it is to keep customers paying you forever, keep them paying longer. Because another way to increase the cash flow, and with money models, a sequence of offers to make as much money as possible, one way to make more money is to keep your customers paying you. Because you could get a customer to pay you once, or you could get a customer to pay you 10 times, and then now they're the equivalent of 10 customers instead of 1. So if you can get customers and you can keep them, then your business scales even faster, because you don't need to keep getting more and more customers and have a constant turnover of churn where every month you have to replace the customers from the month before, but instead it becomes a healthy growing system where people keep paying you forever. And with the goal of keep them paying forever, we want to be ethical about this, and we want to do it the right way, where we're giving them more value so they want to keep paying you forever. For example, when I first started out, I had a client who paid me $1,000 for the first month up front, and then I helped them make $10,000, $20,000. And because of that, they wanted to keep working with me because they believed I could help them continue to grow. So they paid me again the next month, and they kept paying me for 9, 10, 11 months. And because of that, one customer was worth over $30,000 for me at the end of the day. One customer worth $30,000 because they kept paying me. So I could have got them once, done all the hard work, done the attraction, free content, turned a stranger into a customer, sold them an upsell, maybe downsold them, sold them a payment plan, and made $1,000, $5,000. But because I continued to deliver and I continued to take it to the next step after I delivered on the first step, what was the step behind it? They kept paying me, and they were worth over $30,000, one customer, as a result of that, which means I fulfilled the goal of having a sequence of offers to make as much money as possible. Now, what was Hormozi's continuity offer? And the first foremost one he had up front is school affiliates. He is a co-owner of school, and he sends traffic to school. Therefore, when people join school, they pay month over month over month over month. Either $9 a month for the hobby plan or $99 a month for the main plan, which is the pricing currently. And he gave some big bonuses. He did some extra stuff to make this more incentivized by having an attraction offer part of it where I think it was 60 days free or something like that. And then the goal was to get them in and keep them paying forever. Now for you, I don't want you to think about continuity offers. In fact, I'm not even thinking about continuity offers at all, because your core focus, especially at the beginning, is to turn strangers into customers, get them to buy something, and then downsell them if they say no. And you don't even want to consider a continuity offer before they're done the first thing. Because why would you be thinking ahead of time and thinking 100 steps into the future when you just need to be focused on the first step in front of you? Now, we do have school affiliates because in our program, we recommend people use school. And because of that, people sign up for school. And I think on our continuity of our monthly recurring, it's something like $8,000 or something like that for our continuity. Then you can look at adding in the upsell continuity offers, and you can start mixing and combining things once people have gone through your primary flagship program. But you don't worry about that till later. And I'm going to call it right now. I bet Hormozi is going to have another continuity offer on the back end of these things, where after this 16K program is done, he'll probably have an option to keep paying him and keep working with him at the end of this. But that's not visible, and I can't say what that is yet because this hasn't happened yet. And you can't have the continuity, the back end, until the first thing has happened. It's like I get a customer for a 6-week program, let's call it as an example, and then I don't sell them something new until the end of the 6-week program when I know what they need next. And yes, you can sell in between, you can do all these extra things, but at the beginning with your goal as your first $1 million, you don't want to think too far ahead in terms of long-term continuity offers, and you want to think about what's going to get you to that first goal the fastest. And that is with these 3 up front. Now, one of the main lessons I learned from Hormozi's incredibly successful $100 million money model book launch is that you don't need more information, you need action. You do not need more information, you need action. And when we all were there live and we saw the energy of what was happening, we saw all this information, all these books available, 16 books, all these different things, 100 books, read all these books. We want it. We want more information. But sometimes, not all the time, and I do recommend you consume and you level up your skills, you learn. I think buying is awesome. I think you should be buying things. That's why I bought it, because it helped me learn. But your goal is to take action. And sometimes information can cause overwhelm that keeps you from taking action. And here there's kind of 2 models we can look at. And the first thing that holds people back from action is a lack of information, where they are sitting here and they just don't know what to do. They don't see any paths in front of them. They're sitting here and there's nothing. There's a question mark on what they should be doing. And at that point in time, you do need information to figure out the one action you should be taking. But for most of us, that is not the case. And we are sitting here and we see 10 different paths in front of us. We say 10 different things and we have a whole bunch of information. And instead of adding more to that mix, adding in an 11th, a 12th, a 13th, a 14th, a 15th path, we need to synthesize that down and find the one core path that we go all in on and we apply all of our time and focus to so that we go the furthest. And if we are trying to chase 10 different paths, it's like the classic parable, the man who chases 2 rabbits catches none. So if you're there and you see a bunch of paths in front of you, your goal is not to collect more information and figure out more paths. Your goal is to take action and figure out the one path you should take action on. And you do that by simplifying, by crossing out paths, by saying no to this and no to that and no to this and no to that, and ignoring, as Hormozi says, the lady in the red dress. So the $1 million money model that I use, that we use, and that we recommend to people in our program is exactly the one that I've just built alongside you guys by synthesizing Hormozi's $100 million money model book. And it starts with the attraction offer of making free content. Making free content, helping for free. You can do this in a few different ways. You can start at its core by leaving comments, by joining groups and places your dream customers hang out online, leaving comments and starting to provide value, networking with people in your niche, in your industry. You can start doing chats, you can start doing calls, you can start creating content about it. And then as you build your network and people become aware of you and begin to trust you, and you're turning strangers into customers in the sense of building trust, conviction in you, then all you need to do is sell one high ticket offer on the back end of that. One upsell offer. You only need one offer to make your first million. And Hormozi actually talks about this in the book as well. Straight from the horse's mouth, as he would say. One high ticket offer. And we do high ticket because it allows us to make the most cash up front. It allows us to help the most people have the biggest impact. And because most of us are constrained by attention. And when we are constrained by attention, we need to optimize the cash per piece of attention. We need to optimize our opportunity per lead. And you do that with high ticket. Because if you have 10 people you know who are interested in you, and you're only going to sell 3 of them, and you sell them something that's $10, you make $30. But if you only sell one of them, and it's $5,800, suddenly you made $5,800. So one high ticket offer, and then you downsell payment plans. You don't need a whole nother brand new fancy offer on the back end of that. You don't need a to downsell a course, downsell a different program. You just downsell payment plans for the exact same thing. And that means you have one thing you are selling instead of 3, 4, 5. And once you've done that, you figure out continuity later. Because after you get a customer, you can then look at them and think, what will they need going forward? What do they need after I help them solve that first problem? What do they need after that problem? And then you can sell that later. And what that classically looks like is maybe for us, what we would do for continuity on the back end as another upsell offer, because they can be very tied together, is a back end mastermind. Or selling them back into the same program where they get continued access. Or it can be something as simple as school affiliates, where once someone signs up and uses it, they keep paying you forever. And don't worry about that, because these 3 core of attraction, upsell, and downsell are what will help you get to your first $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, and beyond. And that's the core of what I have followed in my business. And the goal here is simplicity. The goal here is simplicity. We want the simplest business possible because we don't have a huge team like Hormozi. You and I don't have a huge team like Hormozi. We don't have the skills of Hormozi. We don't need the operational complexity of running a company like acquisition.com. We want something simple because the simplest businesses scale the fastest, because you are applying your time focus, and energy to leverage and expand one pillar for each of these instead of 10. And if you're splitting your focus and your energy and your attention, it's going to be harder to scale. And I know this because at one point in time, I had 5 businesses. I had an appointment setting agency. I had a ghostwriting agency, so I was doing done-for-you work. This is how I learned the skills. I did done-for-you work. I had a low-ticket school community. I had a high-ticket back-end upsell program on the back of that school community. I was doing growth operating and working with different clients. I was also growing my own brand, my clients' brands. That's like 7 things already. It was incredibly operationally complex, and that meant I hit a ceiling on my time where I couldn't really make it past, let's call it $12,000 a month. I think it was $12,000 a month was where I kind of ran out of time. But when I simplified that core down to do one thing, that's when the business scaled, and that's what created the possibility of doing a launch like this and making my first million. Not because I was doing 7 things, but because I was doing one thing really, really well. So, core lesson from Hormozi on the book launch: start with simplicity, start with the simplest system possible. Copy what Hormozi did to get to where he is, not what he's doing now, because the simplest businesses scale the fastest. And if you want our help doing this, installing the right money models in the right sequence of your business, you don't want to make the mistakes and figure it out on your own, you can click the link below that I'll link to join the waitlist to work with me and the Synthesizer team. It's currently no spots available. Couldn't take your money if we wanted to, but you can apply to join the waitlist to work with us when some new spots open up. Peace.